Building AI agents in production. The following is a conversation that I had with Or Arbel, which is the founder of Toffu.AI. Toffu.AI is a solution for vibe marketing. It's a chat interface that allows you to control all your marketing initiatives. Basically, it integrates with many marketing platforms. As you can see here, Google Analytics, just a second, Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Google Ads, social media platforms, content management platforms, etc. And using the chat interface, you can communicate with Tofu, which is your AI agent, and it is connected to many tools under the hood. And it can help you do many different marketing related stuff, such as creating LinkedIn ads, researching keywords, analyzing website traffic, etc. They also have a playbook over here. Now, the reason I invited Or to be a guest on my podcast or in this video is because if you've been following me for a while now, you know that I'm a big proponent of AI agents, but I often discuss about reliability issues and the fact that it's very challenging to build AI agents that are relevant for production. It's one thing to build an AI agent for a demo or for a YouTube video, but when you want it to scale and you want to make them reliable, there are many things that need to be involved: rate limiting, evals, and many other stuff. So this is why I decided to invite Or to discuss all the challenges and all the big wins that he has encountered while he was building an AI native product. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Obviously, I highly recommend that you check out Toffu.AI. That's it. Please enjoy. Hi, Or. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
I'm very excited to have you. It's been a while since I recorded a podcast, and I decided to start reaching out to founders who are actually building stuff in production, because I'm noticing there's a huge difference between people like myself that are building for demos or YouTube videos or small stuff that isn't stress tested versus building for production. And I stumbled upon what you guys are doing, or maybe it's more correct to say what you're doing in Tofu, and I'm very excited to pick your brain. So you want to tell the audience about Tofu, and then we will just get rolling with questions.
Yes, sure. So Tofu is an AI agent that is focused on marketing. So I think about it as it's like your AI team, marketing teammate.
Okay, and why did you decide specifically to focus on marketing, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. So originally, in my previous startup, I was the CTO, and when the LLMs came about, I started looking into this is obviously a revolution, how do we integrate this new technology to our product? And I remember that I read this blog post by OpenAI that was published in June 2023 that was talking about a new concept called function calling. And as I read through it, it dawned on me that this is going to disrupt everything that we know about the workforce, because for the first time, LLMs are not only things that you can ask a question and get back an answer, they can actually go and do stuff. Obviously, the way that they do stuff is by calling functions, what we know today as agents. But I looked around and I saw, and I thought to myself, where are the gaps? Where are the gaps between what people are doing today and what AI agents can already do? And I saw the marketing team in my company, and my wife is a VP marketing, and I heard about her challenges throughout the day. And I thought, well, there is a lot of this stuff that AI agents can already do. I actually made a bet with my wife that I can build an AI agent that can do a lot of the work that she's doing with her team. And I won the bet. So that's how it initially was conceived.
Awesome, great. So what did it surprise your wife in terms of what have you accomplished already in terms of agents that she didn't imagine that you will be able to build?
One thing that surprised my wife, because we had a lot of discussions about it initially, was that my vision for Tofu from the get-go was that there will be no UI, because I think about Tofu as an agent as a teammate, and your teammates don't have a UI. You communicate them via Slack, via email, via Zoom, but they don't walk around with a dashboard on their face and buttons that you click. And that's how I wanted Tofu to be. And I thought the Tofu should be inside the tools that we already use. So when I work with a content writer about a piece, the way we communicate is inside Google Docs. We use the comments. So Tofu should be there as well. So I can tag Tofu and it will reply to me in the Google Doc. And initially, my wife said that this is not the way to go, that there should be a UI, because people don't know what Tofu can do, and people are used to buttons where they just click something and something happens. And over time, when she was using Tofu, she got used to the chat interface, and she completely changed her mind, because when you are using a chat interface rather than a set dashboard with buttons, you are much more free to accomplish what you have in mind, rather than what a product manager decided that I should be able to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and we're all starting to move more towards using the chat interfaces since ChatGPT was introduced. So it's becoming more and more familiar just using this UI. And I definitely believe that also a lot of other experiences, so even ecom funnels are going to move to the chat, maybe zero-click funnels, etc. So I definitely see how the chat is becoming more and more popular. Before we dive in, I noticed that I don't feel that we clarified well enough what is tofu, and I already know what it is, and I hope you already know what it is already. So
Yes.
maybe give maybe one or two use cases so people can comprehend the whole, I don't know, onboarding or customer journey, or just a use case of using analytics, using it for a content generation, etc.
Yes. So let's start with how you onboard to Tofu. You sign up. Tofu asks you what website do you want to market or to promote or to grow, and then you enter it, and then you have a chat which is similar to ChatGPT. Okay, so what is the difference? Why is it different? And the difference is in a bunch of ways. One of them is which tools Tofu has access to. So as you mentioned, Google Analytics, but also Google Search Console, Google Ads, and aside from Google tools, but also Google Docs and Google Sheets, HubSpot, LinkedIn, Reddit. And I try to think about my end user and what tools the end user uses throughout their day. And that's the tools that I'm adding into Tofu. And at the end of the day, let's say that I'm a marketing manager and I want more people on my team that I can delegate tasks to, then that's what Tofu should know how to do. And so your experience with using Tofu is you can ask it to do marketing tasks. Okay, well, marketing task is a very big thing. There could be a lot of types of marketing tasks. And that's why we added something called playbooks, where playbooks are prompts, but they are pre-made prompts by us that show the user what Tofu can do. So one of the popular prompts are analyze my website traffic. In order to analyze someone's website traffic, you need data from usually two main places, Google Analytics, but also Google Search Console. If you'd have to do this process manually, you'd have to go to Google Analytics, which a lot of people don't like how the UI is made, and export data from there. And then you have to go to Google Search Console and again, export data from there, like which data, how do you export it? And then you can take all of this context and throw it into ChatGPT, and then it will tell you stuff. Where in Tofu, you have this playbook where it says, analyze my website traffic, go to Google Analytics, go to Google Search Console, analyze the data, and give me the report in a Google Doc. Why a Google Doc? Because if I work in a team and I want to share it, I don't want to copy paste what you give me and then put it in someone. Just give me the Google Docs and I will share it with my team. That's one example. Another example is that Tofu is not only about fetching information, but let's say that that I understand now. I have Tofu also have an understanding where the traffic is coming from. I can tell it, okay, let's do a Google Ads campaign. Suggest to me some keywords that we are strong and we can even grow more, and let's pay some money to generate. And so it will generate campaigns. Obviously, you can ping pong with it about what will be the campaign, but once you do, you can just tell it, okay, put the campaign in Google Ads, and it will put it in Google Ads. You only have to press publish, and that's it.
Amazing. So it's connected via API already to Google Ads, for example. It's not just there are these tools that generate headlines, but it stops with there. So you still need to copy and paste the headlines to Google Ads, for example, which is pretty annoying. So you already have the integration, and you can actually publish via API in programmatically.
Yes, you touched on a point. Like Google Ads, the headlines and the description. Like you need 4 headlines, 15 descriptions, and now you have to copy paste 20 times. Like I don't want to do that, and that's one of the things that Tofu can do, like automate all of that stuff. So it does have access to tools not only for reading but also for writing and publishing.
Awesome. What are some interesting tools that Tofu is using under the hood, or maybe tools that you found more impactful?
So we're talking about the infrastructure of the agent itself, I
Exactly.
assume. Yeah. So it took me time to research and find, like every time I got into, there was some issue, like it was too slow or something, and then I had to figure out the way to overcome it. One of the things I noticed is that, Tofu can index your website or anything. It has a memory and a knowledge feature. And obviously we use vector database and RAG and all of that. So I noticed that I use MongoDB, and I noticed that when I try to fetch using the vector search, it's kind of slow. And so I was looking for ways to make it faster. So I did the benchmarks. Like I had a script. Obviously, I asked Cursor to create a script that measures how much time it takes for different vector database providers. But in the end, I found that Pinecone is pretty fast, but that's not the only thing. I realized that in order to get good results for RAG, it's not only about retrieving the initial results, but also doing something called re-ranking, where you initially fetch larger sum of results, like I say 30, and then you re-rank them and fetch only 10 out of that 30. And then you get actually good results. And to do that process, it's kind of slow, and you have to do 2 things, and you have a piece of code for retrieving, and you have another piece of code for re-ranking. I found that Pinecone has an endpoint where you just give it to re-rank true, and you get it's all done and very fast. So that's one tool that I liked when I realized that.
Cool. This is interesting. I like where this is going. So, any more advanced stuff that you can share? Because, for example, when I back in the day, like 3 months ago, I built this personal AI agent, personal assistant AI agent, and it was connected to approximately like 40 tools. So I used to tell it what I wanted via Telegram. Then it was connected to Google Drive, Gmail, my Trello boards, everything basically, everything that I use on a daily basis. And initially I was very excited. It seemed very cool. It did what I wanted. I told it, listen, create a meeting with Or, send an email summary to him, and add a file to my drive, and it did so. But then when I started stress testing it, I saw that there were many issues with tool calling. Sometimes it didn't get the tool calling correct, because this is a big issue, you obviously know, and many other challenges. So I'm wondering, what else did you encounter? Maybe elaborate about how did you create the correct tool calling process? Do you encounter any issues regarding tool calling?
Yes, of course. So the way that it's never a complete solution and final, but the way that I mitigate these type of issues is that I use Langsmith, and then when I see that there was a wrong tool call or it sent wrong parameters, I go to the playground of Langsmith and I play with the descriptions of the tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed, like, okay, so it could be something small, like the description of the tool can have a single word in the description of an argument where it would throw us completely the LLM. And then all you need to do is understand, okay, the issue is with this word, and you change the description. But Langsmith allows you to iterate on it very quickly. You just go to the playground, you change the word. You don't need to rerun the agent or rerun the whole prompt. You focus on that one tool call. You play with it, and you click play, and then you arrive where it's getting you the result you want, and you go back and change it in the code.
Yeah, this is interesting. You touched upon the most important thing, I think, in tool calling, is having the description right and also the tool name correct and accurate, and it should be quite distinguishable from other similar tools. So, for example, I had like compose email and write email, and it's very easy for the LM to get them wrong, So they need to be distinct significantly, and also using Langsmith. And we discussed this before hopping on the call, like using Langsmith in order to have this observability layer and seeing traces and optimizing is very, very important. What else are you using it for? You mentioned LLM as a judge before.
Yeah. So I'm using it for a bunch of things. Observability allows me to use it for a bunch of things. One of the things is to inspect the feedback. So there are two ways where I get feedback about the results of a run. When I say I run, it's not a single prompt, and because it's an agent, so it's a loop. It can be multiple prompts, tool calling. And one way is that the users can do thumbs up, thumbs down. If they do a thumbs down, they get a feedback form. So the feedback is sent also to there, also to my Slack, but also to there, so you can see it in aggregate. And also there is a feedback, an LLM as a judge, where I run a cheap model, a GPT-4o mini, and I use the OpenEvals open source to evaluate the runs, and it's also getting reported to Langsmith. Aside from that, I also always look at the cost. So one of the things that I look at is I have a table of all the runs, and then I check in the columns. I check the cost and the number of tokens, and it allows me to understand better how much I'm paying for the tokens. What are the we talked about playbooks. What are the playbooks that cost more? And then I try to think, how do I optimize that, and so on.
This is very interesting, and I think this is also one of the aspects that the people who are building not for production, they completely ignore. Some of them, the majority, ignore latency, but obviously also cost. And this is something that should be monitored carefully, and perhaps also with guardrails. So, have you encountered any abuse? Do you have like a lot of rate limiting or stuff like this in order to mitigate cost? Because I'm assuming that unit economics here, is it a subscription based, or how are you charging, or usage
So
based?
it's usage based on credits. You get 100 credits every day for free. And then if you want more, you can buy more credits for $20, $50, and so on.
Okay, so you mind like speaking more about your thoughts regarding pricing and also preventing abuse?
Yes. I did encounter a little bit of abuse, not too much. Mostly like people signing up with multiple emails to get the free credits. And I see because they're promoting the same website. So when they sign up and they ask you which website, it's the same website. And then also one time I had this, it's a bug on my end, but someone was able to do a lot of stuff. And I woke up the next morning and I saw like, you know, $1,000 bill from OpenAI.
Okay.
And you know, it was painful, but like you learn and you close. And then you said, I did have a limit. I did have a limit, but the limit was monthly. And so you also need to have a daily limit for sure. And then also, I use mostly Claude Sonnet, which is very expensive, but especially for agents where a lot of the tokens are reiterating the same things, there is the prompt caching cost, which is you get a large discount. It took me a while to figure out like which header goes where. Eventually, I was able to do it. And by the way, we talked about the Langsmith showing like the cost. It doesn't take into account prompt caching. So you can think, oh, this prompt cost me $10, where if you use prompt caching, it might be just $3. Yeah, so I would recommend if anyone is using Claude Sonnet to definitely do prompt caching.
Sure. I just want to add that I have like this funnel which uses AI, and I think that besides having a daily limit, I also have a 10 minutes limit. So 10 API calls for 10 minutes. Obviously, in your product, it might be more. And also an hourly limit, because when people abuse, sometimes they just brute force for 10 minutes, you know? It depends on the unit economics and the usage, but I think that a daily limit isn't necessarily the way to go. Maybe you should also have limits for shorter interval, because if you have one day, people can abuse the heck out of it also in one day, you know. So also something to think of. But this is all new, you know. This is why it's so exciting. So I'm wondering what interesting feedback did you get from users, that you think it's mostly feedback related to the fact that they are not used to using LLMs in production, not used to using this type of products?
I think one feedback is about the data privacy, where some people, not everyone, some people, most don't find it something to mention, but data privacy, like, oh, I'm connecting my Google Analytics, like what happens with my data and so on. And so it was very important for me to put on the website Trust Center, which lays out everything about how we handle data and how we are not training AI models based on the customer data, obviously. So that's one thing. Another thing is that there are two types of people, I think. One type is the, I guess, early adopters, where they understand that the agent can sometimes make mistakes or not do what I asked, but they can ask it again. And I think people that are working with Cursor or agents, mostly programmers because they're already in it, know what I'm talking about. Sometimes Cursor can blow your mind how good it is, but sometimes you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. And some people, when they experience the, oh my God, this is terrible, if it's the first time, they're like, okay, like they close the tab and that's it, like they're gone. Where in reality, if you just try it again or work with it, you would benefit a lot. You would save a lot of time and a lot of money. But I think one of the feedback is that you would see some people that say, oh, like I tried doing this, it gave me like an incomplete answer and then I ditched it. And so I think there is no agent that does 100% success rate. And so it's just something that we need to keep working and improving and understand that some people are just not going to come back later.
For sure, for sure. Excellent. I want to transition before we start concluding. So it's not your first startup. I know that you also were in YC, and I'm wondering your philosophy regarding where this is going in terms of sizes of teams, bootstrapping versus VC, doing it on your own. At the moment, are you on your own or you have a partner?
I have a co-founder, but in terms of building the technical thing, it's me.
Okay, so you mind walking me through your philosophy? I mean, some people say, this whole bad thing. One founder can get to 5 million ARR easily these days because of agents. Some people say it's BS. So, what is your philosophy around this?
I think there is one word you mentioned there where easily. I don't think it's easy at all, but I do think it's possible, and I mean, it's already proven. We also have a founder that built Base44.com, which built it by himself, and I think I don't know if he's already at 5 million, but probably close to it. So it's not a discussion of whether it's possible or not. We already know it's possible. I think it's super hard. I think it's super unique. I think you need to be very talented to achieve that, but it is definitely possible. I chose the route of not raising any outside money and bootstrapping because for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons is that when you raise money, what are you doing with that money? You hire people. When you hire people and you don't have yet a product market fit, then it slows you down because now you have to manage a few people and you have to change your mind every time. And the reason that initially that people raised money like I did in the past and other people is because you want to build a product, and it's not possible to build a product without a diverse team of people. But now some products you can build by yourself using AI, and I experience it myself. I'm very productive by using the cursor and everything, and Devin and V0, and every day there is something new. So if I can build the product and move faster, then I prefer that. I think at some point when there is product market fit and there are people that can accelerate your growth, it does make sense to hire them. I don't know if you at that point will need to raise money because you're already making revenue, but that's a question.
Yeah, interesting. And what in terms of this is also a lot of SaaS founders or a lot of people in the SaaS space are saying it's very dangerous to build these days because you don't necessarily have a moat, and whenever Anthropic releases something or OpenAI releases something, they just steamroll all the other players, all the smaller fish in the pond. So, what is your perspective about this?
I think it's just the same thing we've been hearing all the years, just different players. So instead of OpenAI and Anthropic, it used to be Google and Amazon, Facebook. So there is always reasons why not to build. Someone else can build it. A big company can. And I think that at the end of the day, people that are builders and want to build, they can help themselves. So it doesn't matter. Okay, maybe in the future something, but that's the thing about doing a bootstrap is that you just build. Like you don't have to keep thinking. If someone is raising money, they have to constantly think about, okay, if someone is asking me this question, what am I going to answer? Like what is a good response to this question? And the good thing about not raising money and not trying to impress investors is that you don't need to even waste brain cycles on that. You can focus on building and making your user happy.
Awesome. Excellent. Very interesting perspective. Before we conclude, is there anything you would like me to ask or that I didn't, or anything that is worth mentioning, worth of motivation, before we do the plug for Toffu, because obviously we will, but any other learnings, words of motivation?
I think I can share some of the insights. I don't know about words of motivation. I'm not like Tim Robbins, but I learned a lot about building an AI native product, which I had to unlearn from my previous experience of building SaaS products. One of the big things is like how do you do schemas in your database? And if you build a SaaS product or a software product and you have a database, then you need to think about, okay, what is my domain? What is my product about? You start building tables or collections around that. Like, let's say you build a marketing product. Okay, I need a table for SEO articles. I need a table for keywords. I need a table for this and this in the marketing. But I understood that the minute you are adding a schema, you are limiting your product to only know and talk and do things that are within that schema, and you're basically limiting your agent. And it's the same thing about UI. The minute that you add UI, a UI which has a certain feature, your product can only do that feature. And then you're in a race to add more features. Like, okay, we need more. And I think that it requires a real like reset to understand that the UI is something that is limiting. A database schema is limiting. Hard-coded workflows is limiting. And that's why I focus on how do I unwind everything, like no hard-coded flows, no database schema except for one table that is called memory, which has a vector. It's in a vector. It's the only table you can have if you want your agent to be able to do anything. And so I focus about how do I remove all these limitations, but at the same time make the agent actually be able to do some work done.
Yeah. This is thank you for sharing. It's this is like at the moment, and I think also from now on, it's going to be the biggest challenge, because on one hand you want the flexibility of the agents, you want the LLMs to be on the steering wheel, but on the other hand, if you give them too much flexibility, the reliability goes down, and you don't know what will happen. And this is the main tension these days, because for like I told you before we started, I'm building mostly workflows because I want to control the output. But this is very restricting, because then I need to think about the edge cases and everything. While if I had an agent, a capable agent, he probably could have accomplished this on his own. But you don't know what you will get because it's a black box, and this is why what we discussed about observability is also so important. But yeah, it's a work in progress. We'll see. Thank you so much. Also, where can people learn more about you? I know that you're very active on LinkedIn, which is great. I love what you're doing on LinkedIn, and learn more about Tofu.
Yes, so I post on LinkedIn about the journey, and the website for Tofu is Tofu with 2 Fs .ai. And yeah, I guess that's it. Anyone can sign up for free, try it out. Yeah.
Awesome, great, and thanks again.